Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome back as we're getting ready to wrap up season 2 of Louisiana Catalyst podcast. The Link, sponsored by Origin Bank. And guess what? We're bringing our last episode of this season at the new, beautiful downtown Ruston location of Origin Bank. Origin Bank has been a great friend and partner to Louisiana Catalyst for a number of years. Obviously, we've been in Formerville for the majority of this season, and now to wrap it up in this new awesome facility is just a great cap, I guess, to a great relationship and season that we've had with Origin Bank. So without further ado, I'm Deron Talley, a vice president here at Louisiana Catalyst. As always, with our visionary and the man that's, I think, is running the helm over here at this beautiful facility in Ruston at the Origin Bank, and that is our president, Mr. Quentin Durr himself.
Well, thank you. But you said I got to correct you on one. You said vice president. You are now.
That's right.
You are now the chairman.
That's right. I am the chair of the seat of this.
So
thing.
we're tag teaming this venture now. And no, it's beautiful. I'm glad to be here. I don't know about running things, but I'm just present. And you see the city of Ruston Town Hall behind us, so we got a nice view to look at. But I'm excited about who we have today.
Absolutely.
Another founder of Louisiana Catalyst here to bring us what's good on the other side of the river,
Absolutely. Councilman Doug Harvey, business mind, manufacturing expert and specialist, and again, a founding member of Louisiana Catalyst. And he always comes in and check in with us and has some conversations with us. And so it's only appropriate that we bring him in for our final episode of season 2. So welcome with us today, Mr. Doug Harvey. How you doing, Doug?
Hey, thank you guys for having me. It's a beautiful venue. Every time we do one of these, we're in a different spot. I've been to the one that we had at Benoit. I've not been to the Farmville location, and we did one at the Capitol Park Museum here earlier this year. And so you guys keep moving up every time I get to talk to you guys.
Absolutely. It's just a testament to the relationships and the partnerships that we've been able to build, the support of our community and business leaders, people like you who have a little access, right, to help us get our foot in the door and continue to spread this platform and the powerful message around the business and workforce needs of our community. So, Doug, what's been going on, man, in your world?
No, I mean, we're late November. We're in the situation where we're trying towards the end of the year. Everybody's kind of wrapping up. Everybody's doing their big push. I mean, I'm always appreciative of guys like you and your network that's really supporting small businesses, entrepreneurs. I mean, as the world has really shifted, I sat in this economic piece the other day, and it was really talking about thinking about North Louisiana, and some of like manufacturing, some of it's left, some of it's come back, and they talk about payroll in these really big chunks and what that really means to communities, and so we'll talk about, hey, this left or that left, but really kind of life still went on, and a lot of it was just because people became more nimble. If COVID really taught us a lot of things, it's just how much we're responsible for our own economic security, and so. I think about what the stuff that you guys do really facilitates that. I mean, there's a lot of different groups that are trying to do that, myself included. So it's that time of the year where we talk about we've got Small Business Saturday.
Yes,
I hope it's every Saturday, and it's a big retail time of the year. Our UPS store is a retail operation. This is the time of year where we bring on extra staffing. Because not only are you buying these goods, we're ultimately trying to make sure you get them to the right places and get the things to grandma, get the things to my cousin, and all the kind of stuff and get there on time.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than you select that 2-day shipping and it gets there in 4. You know what I mean? But you left on a trip
right
the day before it. That's always. So we appreciate all y'all do at the UPS store too.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Speaking of the UPS store and just this holiday shopping and shipping, how much of an impact when you see these airlines struggling, right? How much does that impact what you all are doing, and how relationship-wise or what type of communication do you all have in that type of thing?
We watch, different parts of the country. There's like all these different pockets of places that are doing really well, places that are struggling. I'll see where one UPS hub may be doing layoffs, and you see another that's, adding all kinds of workers. And so it really just kind of shifts with the population. I think the seasonal piece, because everybody's trying to be as lean as they can. And so what it really means is a lot of people ramp up during those times of year. We're no exclusion from that, but just not to the same degree. But, this is also one of the things where, like shipping is kind of actually overall down across the whole UPS platform. And there's some recessionary pain. People are deciding how they're spending their money. You know, we see where people are moving toward less expensive options, but at the same time, this will be a growth year for us. We've had some of our best months this year. We continue to do that, and to me, it just becomes to where you just get back to the basics. You focus on the things that matter to you, and really just make sure you have positive interactions with your customer. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely some national pieces that we're mindful of. You know, even UPS talking about, hey, when something's supposed to be their second day and it gets there 4 days later. During COVID, you know, they really went away from that guaranteed option. Like, hey, when I say it's going to be our second day, if it doesn't get there, I ultimately owe you your shipping back. And they went to where they weren't doing many of those, like just like really just next day and second day. And now, like even here in the holiday season, third day is back guaranteed. So hey, if it doesn't hit there when it's supposed to, I mean, I owe you all your shipping back.
Wow.
So everybody's forced to be a little more leaner, but at the same time, our service offerings go up at the same time. So we're all trying to preserve our margins. It's a thin line. You know, you're trying to really thread the needle because you know we've all had costs passed on to us. Whether you know everybody's talked about grocery prices and what that means. I mean, because I always think about true inflation. There's some really cool calculators out there that shows you know, hey, we're at 3% this, but it actually excludes all the things that the average person really cares about. You don't have fuel really weighted in there. You don't have food so much in there. So we think 3%, but that's not what people are seeing. So they ultimately, their buying power is just reduced.
Wow.
Back that with interest rates too. I mean, so we're mindful of that customer, but you know, ultimately we just try to make the most out of every interaction we have.
What would you know? Speaking, we're in Ruston. What would a UPS store in Ruston mean for the city of Ruston? what would that mean for like what could a UPS store do for Ruston?
That's a softball pitch there, but yeah, if you're for a commercial realtor in this area and you can find me a location that really makes a lot of sense, we're actually approved for a location here in Ruston. We're just trying to find the right venue. We found some that weren't quite the right size, and so you know, trying to find the right compromise of price versus if you give me an extra 500 square feet, but I had to pay for that, and I'm ultimately locking in long-term cost. I'm mindful of it. But yeah, this is an area that if I think about people I know in Monroe, in this area, I mean, when you're developing, you're making your way west because there's some things that really, you know, think about mature markets, growth markets, and ultimately Ruston's still really a growth market. I mean, you can see how much dirt's turning over in this part of the world.
Absolutely.
And we think that, you know, that product makes sense here. I mean, because it has the brand recognition, it has the part you can depend on. You do have the guaranteed delivery. You do have these pack and ship guarantees to where when we do your packaging, if something happens, there's no questions asked. You get the full replacement value that you declared for it, and life moves on. So that goes back to that quality of the offering. And yeah, we're hoping we can line one up over here in Ruston. It will happen. We just got to figure. Every time I'm over here, I get my hair cut over here twice every 2 weeks, not twice a week, but every 2 weeks, and literally when I come over here, I go and hunt for new places until I can find the right one.
Yes, indeed.
So yes, if anybody's watching this and you have a listing or you know something that's coming open, please reach out to me.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when you look at what's happening from Ruston all the way even back towards Vicksburg now, the development of northeast, north central Louisiana. We can look over at Shreveport and see what 50 Cent is doing, but North Louisiana across this I-20 corridor, this last 12-month period and the next 12-month period, we've got some exciting announcements that have come out that are going to continue to drive the economy.
Yeah, if you think about that I-20 corridor, you talk about even those investments, if you go to Shreveport, I mean, you think about, and it's pretty common knowledge now that there's plans for a data center, the power needs and things that will come along in between Monroe and Vicksburg, which is an area that, just to be frank, is quite rural and just not very developed. And there's been a lot of population loss there. And you think about the needs that it'll have, and then you have Amtrak putting a route there at the same time. And so you put like the money that we've been able to use in the city of Monroe and the projects that we've put there. You know, we've put $120 million just in capital projects since 2021, which was my first year on council. And you know, you think about like all of those things happening are a lot of below ground stuff or stuff that's on rail. People, you know, even at rail, I mean, the railroad tracks are there, but it's not like I see this building pop up or anything like that. But it's really something to be excited about because at the end of the day, if I have these jobs here, I have people that are spending money. They're spending money in our local businesses. sales tax, for example, just one of those things when it's moving, and hopefully people are. It's like I don't have to have, um, some jobs, for example, like you sell. Let's say manufacturing is a great example. There's not a lot of sales tax always associated with manufacturing. So, like, oh, I don't get the sales tax. No, well, I have employees there that are ultimately spending money, and the sales tax is really just an indicator of that activity more than anything else to me. So no, I'm excited whenever I think about Shreveport to Vicksburg, and even thinking about rail access and what that's going to mean for transportation. Uh, it's really something to be excited about, because if I go back to like pre 2020, we were not on the right side of the curve.
Absolutely not.
Right. Is there any other exciting groundbreaking news you might be able to tell us, or is there anything else near and dear in your heart you want to cover?
Yeah, talk about the excitement. I'll talk about two things. So, talking about the data center, and my numbers are a little bit outdated, but there's an application there to put 754 megawatts of power onto the grid, and to put that into scale, I know what kind of numbers we were producing at Graphic Packaging back when I was there, and most paper mills produce a lot of their own power. We were producing 1/10 of that. So just think about that. That is 10 times what your largest power consumer is in that region. 10 times that is going to go there. And to put in scale, we were always told we were kind of 4x at Graphic what the whole city of West Monroe was. That's where we landed. So you're putting 40 times more power there. And the jobs that you're going to have there are going to be power plant operators. You'll have guys that are going to be, in a facility like this, based on what I know about them, you're going to have like industrial HVAC, you're going to have instrumentation. I mean, these aren't, there's all kinds of different kinds of jobs, but a lot of these are very high skilled jobs. So when you think of, I've always, you guys have heard me probably say this on even this show before, but I think the fastest way to really change a rural community is actually put manufacturing there, or jobs that lean on manufacturing is where high school degree persons can go and be firmly in the upper middle class. Because I think they're saying that average salary is probably around 80,000 for those what they're expecting. So yeah, if you put 300 people that are spending that kind of money, that's an injection into that economy.
Absolutely.
Ruston benefits, Monroe benefits, and that's what I think one of the opportunities that we've had over the last couple of years is to ensure that when these projects win, we don't really look at which side of the river, things like that. We know that they don't have these hard lines. It goes back to my thing about city council meeting. Nobody knows where district lines are except for council people. I mean,
right.
It's just some politicians that use, and at the end of the day, I mean, it's like a heat map,
Right.
And so that's the way I look at it. No, I'm also talking about I'm doing a real big push right now for the renewal of our capital infrastructure tax in the city of Monroe. Going back to like 2021, first full year on the council, we've put around 120 million into capital projects since that time. This is a sales tax. It's a 1 cent sales tax that is set to roll off the books in 2029. We're asking for it to be renewed. And you ask for it to be renewed early because you actually need the bonding capacity. Because if you only have 3 or 4 years of payments left, then it doesn't actually make a good bond. It's hard to actually get the funding you need for those projects to keep the pipeline full. And out of that 120 million, I'd say it's about a third of completed projects. I think it's actually 16 that are actually fully completed and commissioned. You have another third that is in some version of construction right now. And then you have like another third that's, pretty much evenly divided that are in some kind of design phase. We just cut ribbon on the Kansas, or the first part of the Kansas Garrett interchange that goes all the way up to Forsyth. That's a project that's like 25 years in the making, and being able to turn some of the dirt there and really break that into phases. And one thing the city's really done is, one, taking a really phased approach to these projects. So you take it in small bites. You also show to your state and federal entities that you are a municipality that can turn these projects into meaningful action, because there's a lot of grants and things that go, and because of lack of local match or something like that, they actually don't happen. And then next thing you know, you're going to apply for these projects. Like, well, why would I ultimately take away from somebody that actually can do this?
Right.
Because somebody else misses out on it, where this money didn't get allocated, and then it gets lost in the funding cycle. So yeah, it's really important to us. It's really important in our community, because that local match is a big part of how you turn $1 into $7. Because the state will be like, hey, we'll put $2 for every dollar that you put in at the local level. But if you're just trying to scratch it out of general fund operating expenses, then you may turn 50,000 into 150,000,
Right.
and every city has so much deferred maintenance. I mean, it's something that you see all over the place. But Monroe has a first-rate water system. We finished construction of that plant here back in the spring. It's got some additional phases for it, and not only does it supply water to the citizens of Monroe, but supplies a lot of water east of us. The Texas to Hannaford trunk line is like this very unsexy project. It's just a sewer line, but there was literally almost 2 miles of it that was impacted, obstructed from certain, from anywhere from 80% to 40%. And there's just many parts of town when you flush your toilet and it rains, it doesn't flush. And you have backup in your yard. And
That's tough.
at the end of the day, nobody cares about which economic development project I have or what server farm's going where. If you can't flush your toilet, it does what it's supposed to.
Put it in perspective.
But ultimately, infrastructure is how I found my way to council, because it felt like it was somewhere I could uniquely contribute, and I thought just bringing a logical, technical based approach to that. So for us to be able to make the record level of investments in that we have has been really fulfilling for me. But it's also one of those things that it's kind of like you always have to be willing to plant a tree that you never see the shade from.
That's right.
Right.
And we lost housing development projects. We had some projects that we literally redid the zoning and everything else, and then once we actually did the full sewer analysis, we couldn't give them a will serve letter, which means hey, we will serve you water and electricity and sewer. And it was all sewer based. So I spent some time in front of that one on Friday. Just between that and the congressional support we have, because I said, hey, how do you turn $1 into $7? You have around $5. You can turn into federal money. And so if you start stacking those things together, you can start really making meaningful change, because annually that tax draw is $18 million. So I just gave you 4 years worth of math. So that would have been $72 million.
Right.
So where the other $50 million come from? It came from state and federal matches. That if we did not have this type of tax and have this money to be able to draw it down, that money would have went somewhere else.
Right. Two things I heard you say. Number one, it's a renewal. Yep. Right, because there's always misinformation. They're trying to raise taxes. They're trying to. It's a renewal. It's a tax that we've already been supporting for however many years. And then the other thing that I want to tie in is that with what you described to us, the impact of what's coming with the data center, and we're able to keep this, and with what's going to come with that, right? Population growth, and we're continuing to have that 1% there with this potential increase of population, person spending money on our sales tax in Monroe. The next 8 years to 10 years could look really good.
Yeah, the tax came into place in 1994. It's definitely been some conversation. Hey, it was a street tax, and it was a street tax in 1994. It was ultimately used to pave all this. Every road except for one I found in Monroe is paved, and so it's kind of this weird road. And it's kind of a fun joke for me, because it was this one that paved every road, but there's this one over there. And I'm like, what happened here? But no, it paved every road in Monroe, and once it kind of fulfilled that duty, it became more of a general use infrastructure type fund. And the city actually went underneath consent decree because of deteriorating sewer systems. Ultimately, the federal government said, hey, you're either going to fund this through this tax that you already have, or you're going to passing this on to ratepayers. So that means I either have something like this, or I start paying double and triple what I'm paying right now.
Wow.
And, it's important for us to be flexible on that and how to really make that come, I know some of the challenges have been like, hey, it should have been a street tax. We need more funding to the state's streets. And I think us as a council, we look in this engineering supported by administration, we all look at what's out there, and then annually this administration plus council approves, where that funding goes. And, I think it's important to know that, we went through a heavy stormwater season where we were really focused on how we move stormwater. Mm-hmm. And we're a season right now where we're really focused on what that looks like from a sewer standpoint. Mm-hmm. And the needs that we'll have 3 or 4 years from now will be different. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just naturally how life works. I mean, and it is a renewal. People get caught up in semantics and says, well, hey, it's not a renewal because, hey, it was going to expire. But what I will say is I'm asking to continue what you're doing today. That's right. And we can get into the lawyer piece of it too, but at the end of the day, it's asking to keep doing what you're doing for another 25 years. It gives you another, like I said, it's all about bonding capacity and turning these projects into meaningful pieces for the community. Because if you go to the website, there's a full list of just all the different types of things we've been doing. And but it's, for example, like I used this example the other day where we were in a neighborhood that I live in, and there's a fire station that there's this water pipe that's been busting out for years. And they finally went through and replaced the water pipe. And, there's all versions that are deteriorating. We wish we could fix everything and had enough money to do it all the time. But you take it in patches, and once it gets to a certain point, you dealt with it. But the problem is it had washed out this driveway at the fire station to the point that your firemen can't even probably park in the parking lot anymore. Mm-hmm. And where it's washed out, it'll eventually mean if it keeps doing what it's doing today, then you would ultimately not be able to get that fire truck out of that fire station. You would not be able to service fire to that neighborhood. Wow. So if I dedicate 70% to streets, then the ability to address needs like that goes away. Mm-hmm. And it's important to be nimble. It's important to know that if the needs of today will not be the needs of tomorrow. And that's not true just in capital infrastructure. It's about the ideas that I bring to a position like this. I'll be changed out in time too. and so I think it's important just to be forward-looking, and a vote in this tax is being forward-looking for the city of Monroe.
Well, we appreciate everything you do. We know you don't have to do the stuff, but you have a passion for people and serving, so we appreciate all you do.
Great information. I'm looking forward to what Northeast Louisiana looks like over the next 10 years. Like you said, because the needs will change, that means we're solving problems of the issues we have today, right? And so we'll have different problems to solve, but we'll have the flexibility to continue to innovate and solve them. So thank you for what you do and all the hats that you wear. And of course, just being a friend to the show and being a friend to us personally as well. So for Mr. Doug Harvey, Mr. Quentin Durr, I'm Duran Talley. Thank you all for tuning in to the last episode of season 2 of Louisiana Catalyst Podcast, The Link.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, guys.